r/AskReddit, women of Reddit, what was the worst thing a man has ever told you in an attempt to hit on/flirt with you? Asked a bartender I work with that question a few years back. She had a kid and was single, and a guy asked her if he could eat her out while rubbing shea butter over her stretch marks. So probably that. Holy crap, I'm dying. This needs to be in the bad pickup line hall of fame, wherever that is. A guy told me he was done going out with attractive women and now just wanted to date someone nice instead. Thanks buddy. How unfortunate. I'm done with nice guys, and am looking for someone who is attractive. Once when I was very visibly pregnant, a man commented on how nice my ass looked and asked for my number. I told him I was married. He said what a lucky guy my husband was, then he pointed to my stomach and said that could have been mine. It was the creepiest thing. Not to mention I was walking with my 4 and 6 years old daughters at the time. I was very heavily pregnant and a guy followed me around the grocery store asking me if he could please take care of me and my baby. I was at a bar with one of my friends and the guy sitting next to me taps me on the shoulder and says that the bartender accidentally gave him an extra drink and he wanted to know if I wanted it. I told him no thanks, I have a drink. He told me he didn't want to waste his money since he was charged for it, so I told him to give it to one of his friends next to him. He then laughed and said, "Why won't you take it? It's not like I'm gone pee or anything. I promise it's not roofied." We left quickly. If he was charged for it, it wasn't an extra drink, he already bought it. You were right for refusing it, BTW. He stole the crutches I needed due to a dislocated kneecap and told me, "Well, you can't run away from me now." My far distant ex-boyfriend once stole my crutches. Because he was mad I wasn't getting out as much, I had been hit by a truck, and he wanted to manipulate me into going to book club with him. It was a feminist book club. My dad is a feminist. Your dad, not your mum. Oh no, dad wouldn't allow that. The guy who confronted me in a parking garage while I was walking to my car and eating a strip of bacon, who started hitting on me and argued when I declined a dinner invitation and went on a really long drawn out rant while I stood there awkwardly eating a strip of bacon until he concluded with, "Worst case scenario, I buy you dinner and we never talk again, and that's cool because I'd spend $50 just to watch a hot girl eat a burger. Should have charged him $20 for watching you eat the bacon." I had a guy at a bar notice I was Italian and then proceed to tell me how great Mussolini was before asking me how I would feel about a naked 30-year man lying on top of me for 30 seconds. I think it was supposed to be a pickup line. Dude, I know. I'll talk about fascism. Women love fascism. My dick on its own is thin and easily snapped, but in a bound bundle of many dicks it is unbreakable. You're worthless. He actually meant priceless. Didn't realize his mistake and I didn't feel like telling him. Over winter break my freshman year in college I grew a beard and tried a new hairstyle. A girl I had talked to a few times told me, "I like your facial hair," to which I replied, "Thanks, I like yours too." My brain had decided not to work right. I thought she was saying she liked my hair, and I was awkwardly trying to return the compliment. She didn't talk to me anymore after that. Maybe not the worst, but certainly the weirdest. Some guy came up to me at work and started quizzing me. "What's your name? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you think I'm cute?" The direct approach. I assume it has worked for him in the past. But then he asked if I had any kids. I said no. This seemed to derail his train of thought completely. He said he couldn't believe it. He'd never met a girl my age who didn't have kids, and he kept following me around and repeating it. "Seriously? You don't have any kids? You're not messing with me?" I escaped into the warehouse and didn't come out until I was sure he'd gone. We met on Tinder. Our first date, he picks me up in his car and as he's pulling out of the lot, makes a joke about raping and murdering me. When I was younger I asked a stranger out on a whim. Surprisingly she says yes, and I was going on my first real date ever. So I pick her up, and as we are chatting I get so nervous I take a wrong turn and have to pull into an lit parking lot and turn around. I apologized for the wrong turn and she just stares me down and tells me not to try anything, her family knows where she's at. Completely shocked, I stupidly asked if I really seemed like that kind of guy, and she just looked me dead in the eyes and said Ted Bundy seemed nice, didn't he? She was completely serious and not joking. Cue the most awkward hour-and-a-half movie experience of my life. I did not get a second date, and I strongly suggest men and women avoid any mentions of murder or on a date. Worst goes to a guy I met once at a party and had run into again at another party. He said, "Last time we talked I told you to go get me a beer, and you said no. Maybe once I give you some of this dick you'll do as you're told." Funniest/most awkward goes to a coworker who figured out I loved video games, specifically BL2. He told me that I was an orange gun, basically legendary. That's not even the highest ranked weaponry, but thanks, bruh. At least he didn't call you pearlescent or worse. Tech edit. Okay, barring plasma casters, those are my guilty pleasure. You know, your pockets are hanging out of your shorts. That's usually pretty bratty, but I like that. Was with a few friends, and one of them told him to get lost as I turned around to ignore him. Another was a time I worked at Walmart. Twice I came out to my car with a note. The first time the first note stated that I'm very beautiful and he's loved to take me to coffee, but his wife beats him, so it'd have to be a secret. The second note told me where to meet him for coffee. Super creeped out, and didn't walk to my car alone for quite some time. Never figured out who it was, or how they knew which vehicle was mine. I love how there are guys afraid to say hi to their crushes, and then there are guys that are dumb enough to say things like that. He told me that we were destined to be together because in several previous lifetimes we'd been teen lesbian lovers in an alternate universe where anime was real. He insisted on calling me by my true name, the name of some crappy anime character he liked, and he would even correct my school papers with the true name. He had a notebook full of stories and drawings about our future life together, and he picked out names for our children and designed my wedding dress. This was all after we'd talked to each other casually a few times in class. This is one of the cringiest things I've ever read in my life. Every sentence just made it worse. My boyfriend was killed in a car wreck by a drunk driver 1 year ago. He had to be cremated. I'm in college, and at the time I was walking across campus when his mother texted me that the cremation had been done. I fell to the ground in tears. A guy came up to me, picked me up off the ground and hugged me. I just cried into his shoulder and told him what had just happened, saying something like my boyfriend died. He said, "Well, do you want a new one?" This happened in a professional workplace. Short douche guy, "Hey, what would you say to a little duck?" Heroin, "Go away little duck." A rare moment of her having had another guy use the same line a few days ago, then workshopping an imaginary/potential response with her girlfriends over drinks, only to have it occur again a few days later. She got to look spontaneously awesome in front of a whole bunch of colleagues. If it weren't for your belly you'd be smoking hot. One guy told me that my roommate's body was bangin', and that he wished he could morph my face on it. That was the last thing he ever said before I blocked him for good, and he just couldn't understand why. Like, thanks for making me think that my face is my only redeeming quality. In high school a friend of mine told me that if he could put my sister's best friend's face on my sister's body she'd be the perfect woman, or the other way around. I don't recall. I wasn't really sure how to handle that. He wrote a love letter/poem to me that included the phrase "let thy juices secrete." Yeah, I'm gonna need a full copy of that poem. Or at least whatever line he chose to rhyme with that one. Some things I hoped he rhymed it with. Thy feet replete polite ancient Crete. Let thy juices secrete, all the way down to thy feet, to which I beat my meat, from outside thy window, discreet. I can eat a whole pencil, except the metal part. 7th grade was wild. I was working the bar with a friend of mine a few years back. This older guy walked up to her and in front of everyone told her that he wants to murder her vagina. Yikes. You don't murder a queen with a 2-inch blade, friend. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.